They say the fog in Hemwick never leaves, even in summer, when the world beyond the forest glows golden with wheat and sun. She had hair like burnt wheat and eyes pale as thawed milk. The other villagers said little to her after her mother died in childbirth, whispering that madness ran in her blood. Yet none could ever say she was cruel. If anything, she was kind, too kind. She nursed wounded birds, wept when pigs were slaughtered, and left out food for the forest wolves, calling them her pale cousins. When the riders from the Baron's guard arrived, she was humming a lullaby in a language no one knew. They questioned her. She said, "They are safe now. They are sleeping." Hemwick remains grey, not with rain, but with a kind of stillness that sinks into the bones. She stared at the wall for 7 days. On the 8th, the abbey burned to the ground. All 37 inside perished, except her. Her father died when she was 13. His face twisted in sleep like something had whispered to him in the dark. Elsha said little after that. Father Renault, the village priest, reported that the river had turned the color of soot. Children spoke of lights dancing between the trees and hearing music under the earth. One by one, livestock died, not of wounds, but of fear. Their hearts stopped in full health. And then the dreams came. All 77 villagers began to dream of a door in the woods, a door made of bark and bone, pulsing like it breathed. She was seen once a week in the square, buying herbs, always paying an old silver coin stamped with a symbol no one recognized. A tree growing from a skull. It lies tucked between forgotten hills in the north of what was once East, marked on no recent map, and spoken of only in prayers and whispers. For in the winter of 1611, the entire village, all 78 souls, vanished. No disease, no army, no fire, simply gone. All but one, a woman named Elsha Via. Elsha was the daughter of the village chandler, known for her quietness and the strange perfume that followed her, bitter almond and iron. She lived at the edge of Hemwick, in a stone house pressed against the forest's edge, where the trees grew close enough to scrape her windows. Then came the winter of 1611, when the fog thickened and the birds stopped singing. On the night of December 3rd, every bell in Hemwick rang once, though no hand touched them, and in the morning they were gone. Homes stood open, fires still smouldering, bread half-eaten, not a footprint in the snow, not even blood. Only Elsha remained. She was found kneeling in the square, eyes closed, hands clasped in her lap. She was taken to Black Hollow Abbey, where records say she neither ate nor drank, yet did not weaken. She walked out barefoot and vanished into the woods. 17 years passed. Wars came and went. Kings rose and fell. But the name Hemwick was still carved into the stone boundary near the Blackwood crossing, though no soul dared cross it, except one. The party heard crying from the forest, whispers through the walls, and laughter echoing in water. His men tore their own skin, screaming that something was under it. Only Roth emerged weeks later, wandering into a convent 40 miles south, starved and blind. He lived 3 more days. In that time, he whispered one name again and again. He ordered the exhumation of the village graves, but each coffin held only ash. On the 7th night, Roth awoke to see Elsia Via sitting at his fire. Her skin was grey like stone and her eyes black as coals. She spoke once, "You've come too far. Leave them dreaming." In 1628, Inquisitor Derek Roth, under the banner of the Holy Chamber of St. Isp, journeyed with a party of scholars and soldiers to investigate the so-called curse. Roth was a man of firm logic, educated in the Grey Cloister, and known for rooting out heresy in the lowlands. He did not believe in ghosts. He believed in lies, and lies, he said, left tracks. His account survives only in fragments, but what remains chills the blood. On the first day, Roth's party entered Hemwick. The building stood as if untouched by time. Snow clung to the rooftops, though it was fires that had long turned to ash still left warmth in the hearthstones. On the second day, one of the guards, Harlan, vanished. His boots were found 10 steps from the church, still laced, but there were no footprints leading away. On the third day, Roth wrote of waking to find symbols carved into the frost on their tents, eyes, spirals, a tree with a mouth. By the 5th day, the men refused to sleep. Then came the voices. She vanished before the others woke. Roth tried to leave, but the road twisted on itself. His maps turned blank, and then he died, his mouth full of soot. The convent sealed Roth's body in a silver-lined coffin, buried at the crossroads, salted at all corners. None spoke of the death, not officially. The whispers moved faster than parchment. In courtly circles, it was called the Himwick madness, but among peasants, it was older. A tale told in rhymes and firelight. They said Elshavir had not murdered her village. She had married it, a wedding beneath the earth, with roots for rings and darkness for a veil. In 1640, when famine and plague ravaged the south, pilgrims seeking miracles turned northward. Many vanished near heaven. Then a new order emerged, pale-robed women preaching of the sleeper queen, she who would awaken when the world forgot violence. When he touched it, his mind was filled with voices, not words, but memories not his own. A girl weeping over a wolf's corpse, a man hanging by his feet whispering a hymn, 1,000 faces turning to sleep. He was not a priest, but a linguist, fluent in tongues no longer spoken aloud. Sarah Woon believed the Hemwick event was not supernatural, but ritualistic. She did not speak, but placed a hand upon his chest, and Holt collapsed. The buildings still stood, though black vines now coiled around doorframes and hearths, binding the consciousness of a people to the dreaming roots of the forest, sealing their souls against the growing corruption of the outside world. In doing so, she had killed them in body, but saved them in essence. A holy heresy, a sanctified murder. He died before any full account could be taken, but in blood, he had written one final phrase across the rectory walls. She has kept it from ending us. Holt described a stillness beyond mere silence, a pause in the breathing of time. No birds, no wind, only the sound of roots shifting beneath his feet. He lived in the old rectory and each night dreamt of a spiral staircase descending into the earth, lit by candles that bled. She was a savior, a mass induction into something called the 13th sleep. In his journals, he noted parallels to lost wood-worship cults of the Pale Era, especially those tied to the Covenant of Thorns, a sect that vanished in 1181 after reportedly sealing their minds into a tree guard. Their sermons were song, their eyes milk-white, and always, they spoke the name Elshavir. His own account, pieced together from dream fragments and scrawled margins, reveals a descent, not into madness, but surrender. The Holy Chamber branded it a heresy, yet the cult spread. Some called it a sickness of grief. Others whispered it was older than the church itself. Desperate to crush the movement, the Chamber commissioned a young scholar, Sarah Woon Holt, versed in forbidden manuscripts and dream path symbology. In autumn, Holt journeyed to Hemwick alone, leaving behind 13 sealed letters, each marked to be opened only if I do not return. He reached the village as the first frost touched the earth. On the 7th night, he found the door. It stood at the edge of the forest, just as in the villager's dreams, made of bark and bone, pulsing gently as if with breath. Then came El. She stood before him, not aged, not ghostly, but exactly as described in 1611. Her hair a crown of leaves, her eyes a mirror of the void. He was found 3 months later by passing traders, naked and babbling in an ancient dialect once used by cave priests of the worm cult. She has not entered the village. His letters, once opened, revealed more. He believed Eltia had performed an ancient rite known as the sinking sleep, a ritual sacrifice of presence to those who understood. She was no witch, yet no one could prove a word, and Hemwick remained, a hollow village, empty of life, but never of presence. By the turn of the century, Hemwick had become a place of legend. Children sang songs about the bride beneath the bark, and travelers avoided the North Woods entirely. Maps ceased marking it. Letters returned unread, yet El Shah's name endured, not as villain nor martyr, but myth. A caravan of 47 souls, mostly mothers and children, vanished near Blackwood Crossing. Weeks later, only one returned, a mute girl of 11, her lips sewn shut with thread made of reeds. When the stitches were removed, she screamed a single word for 9 hours straight. Root in secret libraries, in banned alchemical texts, in the footnotes of mad poets. Always she lingered, and in the deepest part of the woods, those who dared approach swore they saw a new tree, taller than any pine, its bark black, its branches bent in prayer, in dream, in whisper, in the smoke between sleep and breath. She is no longer woman. She is root, she is soil, she is lullaby. She has become the cradle of what we will never understand. And I I go gladly. Beneath it, they claimed, the air sang. She did not kill her village. She turned it into a sanctuary, hidden within dream, rooted in earth, sealed from a world that no longer deserved them. She became the bridge between breath and beyond, between mercy and madness. And once every winter, on the coldest night of the year, it blooms. Not with flowers, but with small, pale faces. 78 of them. Then came the Red Famine of 1702. As crops failed and war marched across province-fractured kingdoms, thousands fled their homes. After this, reports began to surface of strange growths in southern fields, of trees sprouting overnight in spiral rings, of entire villages finding their wells turned to ink. The Holy Chamber sent 5 inquisitors. None returned, not by church or crown, but by a rogue society known only as the Vinebound, composed of ex-priests, botanists, and the last living descendants of Hemwick's bloodline. They called themselves Children of the Threshold. Their goal was not to destroy Elcha, but to speak with her. Their dogs came back, hairless, bleeding from the eyes. In 1711, exactly 100 years after the Hemwick vanishing, a final attempt was made to reclaim the land. They camped just outside the old village limits. Over 5 days, the forest began to bend toward them. Trees leaned, leaves turned inside out, and the ground trembled at dusk. On the 6th night, their chronicler, a man named Benedict Quill, vanished. His journal, found buried in ash beside his empty cot, holds the final known record. We did not find her. She found us. Of the 22 who entered, none returned, but the black tree remained. Each one asleep, each one smiling. Elcha's story ends not in death, but in transformation. And perhaps that is why, in some forgotten dialects of the north, the word for witch and womb are the same. So next time you walk near a forest and feel the silence grow too thick, listen, not for footsteps, but for lullabies. And if you hear them, gentle, slow, in a voice older than language, do not follow, for Hemwick sleeps, and dreams do not welcome waking.